to our channel. I'm Jocelyn with the studio, and today we are going to be making a little night felt stuffy. So grab your materials and let's get started. Here's what you'll need. Some embroidery floss in a few different colors. You'll want some pins to hold your project in place and a hand sewing needle to sew. You want to make sure that your hand sewing needle has a big eye large enough for embroidery. You can take some polyfill or some stuffing from an old pillow to stuff your project. And the paper pattern is available online to be printed out in a PDF. Just go to thestudiobakersfield.com. You want to make sure you have felt in the colors that you want your project to be. Some googly eyes unless you'd prefer to sew the eyes on. And as for scissors, you really want to make sure you have two pair, one for fabric and one for paper. The first step is going to be to cut out all of the pattern pieces. The first thing we're going to do is cut out our base knight. So you can see the corner says knight cut 2, which means when we transfer this paper pattern over to our felt, we're going to want to cut 2 out of the felt. Take note of all of these instructions as you're cutting. Cut carefully and precisely, but if it's not perfect, don't worry. Hand sewing projects can be very forgiving. Once you've finished cutting the base knight, you're going to cut out the rest of the pieces as well. Once you have cut out all of your pattern pieces, it's time to cut the patterns out of felt. We'll start by taking 2 pieces of light gray felt. This is going to make up the back and the base of the knight. You'll take your paper pattern and pin it in place. You want to make sure that when you pin into your fabric, you also push the pin back out on the same side. This is what's really going to keep your pattern in place. You also want to make sure that no piece of the pin is around the edge of your fabric. You don't want to accidentally cut off a pin with your scissors. Now you can cut around. And when you're cutting, try to be as accurate as possible, but if it's not perfect, don't worry about it. We are going to do our best. Luckily, these felt hand sewing projects are pretty forgiving. So just take your time. Remember to take your time when cutting. While I know parts of this video look fast, they were intentionally sped up. Anytime you need to pause the video so that you can finish cutting or pinning or sewing, please feel free to do so. Now I'm going to continue to cut out the rest of my pieces. I'm cutting out a helmet now. I'll also have to cut out the face, the hair, as well as the arms and the boots. Now I'm going to show you a trick for when you have to cut 2 pieces, such as 2 arms or 2 boots. You're going to take 2 fabrics and pin them together along with your pattern. That way you only have to cut around it once and you'll get both the right and the left. And for the hair, you can use any color. Maybe it's brown, maybe it's blonde, maybe it's black or red, or even a fun color like blue or pink. That's up to you. And now that we're done with the hair, we're gonna cut out the shield. So take that paper pattern shield, place it on top of your felt, and start to cut. Okay, so once you have cut all of your pieces, so we have your base knight, your face, let's see, we have the hair and our shield, our little boots, our arms, and the helmet. We can start to sew. So why don't you separate the paper pattern from the felt pattern, and you can set your paper pattern aside and just save it. You can put it back in the box or put it in a little envelope. That way, if you want to do this project again, they're already ready for you. And we're going to take our thread. So you will pull some embroidery floss out of the skein. We're going to cut it. And the first thing you need to know is that embroidery floss is very, very thick. And for us to try to put this whole thing into our needle can be very challenging. So we want to start by splitting the thread. All right, so we're separating it into 6 strands and just pulling slowly. And once you can't really pull anymore, you can set it down. Move back to the middle again and start to pull some more. Oh, it is stuck on our foot. Okay. And now this can be challenging. Sometimes you can start pulling and it will seem to snag or become knotted or get just hard to pull. So we're just going to be very careful. Try to unravel it again and pull slowly until we have 2 pieces. So now we have piece 1 and piece 2. And we will take our needle and our thread, and what I like to do is just hold it at the tip and then pull slowly so that I can squeeze it and pinch in between my fingers. And then I like to take the eye of my needle and almost use it like a little lasso and go over. And you want to be careful so that when you pull, all 3 strands go in. It should look like this. You'll have one piece that's shorter with a tail. And then on your longer piece, we're gonna tie a knot. So I'm gonna make a loop, I'm gonna put the string through there, and then I'm gonna do it again, and I can even do it a 3rd time. And now I have a nice big knot. So this is what it will look like. Now that we have our pieces cut out and our needle is threaded, we'll get started with the first construction step. You want to take one of your base knights, have it ready. The other one we're just going to put to the side for now. And we're gonna lay all of our pieces together. First, we're going to place the face. We'll line it up right here. Then we will add the hair and adjust it as you go. Now we're gonna sandwich everything in between the helmet and the base of the knight. So once we get it to this stage, you're gonna have something like this. We're starting with just the head of our knight. And we will take our needle and thread. And what we want to do first is start attaching these really fun little details. Now, you can get as decorative if you want. You can even cut out smaller pieces of felt to add. So in our sample, you can see stitch lines right around the top, as well as around his head, right around the helmet and his face. They're these rectangular shapes. They're like the slats on the helmet of a knight. So any details you want, or you can keep it pretty simple as well. So we're going to use these dashed lines as a guide, and if you want to add more, feel free, but we're gonna do this and it'll attach all of our pieces. When you begin sewing, you want to make sure to start from the back of your project, not the front. This is what's going to hide the knot. So what I'm doing, again, is just following that first line right around the face with the helmet. And sometimes when you are sewing, you might notice you'll get a little knot in the back. Maybe you were going too fast, so just slow it down if you need to. You can usually pick these out pretty easily if you have to. This one's kind of a big one. And this happens too, and it's totally okay. Also, if you are a kid watching this video without your parents, then this might be a good time. If you have a knot at all, you might want to pause the video and go ask your mom or your dad for help, maybe a big brother or a big sister, and they can probably help you get the knot out. If you can't get the knot out and you're having trouble, all you have to do is cut the knot out. So you can just cut your thread and start over. So you'll just make another knot. Okay, so I was able to get mine out very carefully. I'm gonna pull again, and we're just gonna keep going. Now you can see I have framed the face with stitches, and now we're going to sew the stitches on the top. This is also securing all of these layers together, the helmet to the hair to the face to the base. Once you finish the decorative stitching that also holds all of these layers together, the base knight with the skin and the hair and the helmet, we are gonna tie a knot. So I am gonna show you how to do that on the back. And something that I want to let everybody know right now, don't worry if you think the back looks ugly, if there are any pieces of thread that you didn't pull all the way through, if there's a little loop, don't worry about it at all, because we are not gonna see the back, because eventually, once we're done with the rest of the details on the front of our knight, we're gonna take our other base piece and we're gonna put it on the back, sandwich it together, and you won't see any of the imperfections. So let me show you how to tie a knot.
In order to tie a knot, you're going to put your needle through your felt right where your thread comes up, and then it's going to create a loop that you'll go through and pull. Another time, let's put your needle in, go through the loop, and pull. Last time, and this will create a secure knot. Put your needle into your thread, and it barely needs to go in, only through that top layer. And then through the loop and pull. Now you can take your scissors and cut your excess thread.
We have the top of our knight all ready to go. At this point, if your thread is still long enough, you can just pull the long end so that you still have a little tail, and tie a new knot. Or if you'd like, you can just take that other half of the thread and go ahead and thread your needle new. If you are able to do this last step, the next couple steps will be very easy for you. We want to now attach our boots and our arms. If you take a look at the pattern guide, this is going to show you what the finished project will look like. You'll notice some more little stitch marks. So I've done those in the light gray, and that is how we are going to attach the rest of our pieces. Something you'll notice is that on the arms, it's on the inside but not the outside of the arm. That's because later, when we sew all of it together and we sandwich it and stuff it, we're sewing all the way around our knight, so we don't have to worry about attaching the outside and the outer edges yet. So go ahead and follow this guide in order to attach the arms, and you can do the same thing to the boots if you would like, or in this drawing, the boots are kind of like a pocket, so you can save the boots for the end, but I'm gonna go ahead and do the tops of the boots right now by just sewing them on right at the ankles.
Now we're going to put the arm in place, and we're going to start from the back at the top of the shoulder. You want to try to make each stitch even, going in and out through the fabric, leaving little gaps in between each top stitch. Once you have finished sewing the inside of the first arm, you're going to make your way across the body of your knight. This is going to be the waistline or the belt, however you want it to be represented. Now it's time to attach the second arm. Put it in place, and you're going to start from the inside of the hand and sew all the way up to the top of the shoulder. Once you have finished sewing the arm, you're going to turn it over and tie a knot. This is going to be a knot just like the ones we've done before. You will put your needle into your fabric right next to where your thread comes up. Then you're going to put the thread through the little loop and pull.
Now the helmet and the hair are securely attached to the face and the base of our knight. We have our arms in place, and now we just have to sew the boots on. So once you've sewn your arms, your boots on, it's time to move to the details and the facial features. So if you purchased a kit, you might have little googly eyes inside, and these once you have finished attaching the arms and the boots, it's time to work on the details in our face. So we're going to sew on a little mouth, a little smile, and we're also going to put our eyes in. You have some options for your eyes. You can either use some adhesive googly eyes, which are included in your kit. Those can be really fun. You can also just sew the eyes in using little circles. So I can show you both ways.
We're going to start by sewing in the little smile. Again, you're going to start at the back of your knight, and we're going to make small stitches really close together in a curve to form the smile. And to add a little extra thickness as well as to close the gaps, I like to go through 2 or 3 times back over to make the smile more pronounced. And once you've finished the smile, you can tie a knot on the back. Again, we're just going to go through the fabric, picking up a little bit at the base of the stitch, and then go through the loop and pull. And now we can attach the adhesive googly eyes, or we can sew the eyes in similar to how we did the mouth. You just have to sew back and forth in small lines until you get the shape you want. In this case, I'm making a little circle with 3 or 4 stitches. You could also change the shape of the eye, like sewing little U's to give the night closed eyes. However, I'm just going to go ahead and add some googly eyes.
Next, we're going to work on the shield. Now, on our paper pattern, you'll see a curved stitch. This just helps give some dimension, but you're welcome to decorate your shield however you would like. So for mine, I added a little star. And now something fun about felt is that felt sticks to itself. So if you would like to keep it separate, you totally can. Otherwise, we will sew it on to our little stuffy at the end. But first, I want to keep on sewing just to give it a little bit more detail. Because this blue is so dark, I wanted to use an embroidery floss that was more contrasting. So if you want to choose a different color, feel free. But remember, whenever you choose a different color or you work with a new piece of thread, you still want to separate it. So this one I already have into 3 pieces.
You'll notice that not all 3 pieces are the same length, so I want to snip my thread so that it will be easier to thread through the needle. And of course, don't forget to tie the knot.
So now I'm just going to go ahead and put a decorative stitch all the way around my shield. And just going to start at the back and start sewing. Our project is really coming together. Now what we need to do is put both of our pieces together. So we have our base with all of the decorations, all of the fun details, as well as the piece that will be our back. We're gonna line them up. At this point, you can use some pins to pin them together. So I pin them just like this. Once they are pinned, we can begin to sew. To sew all the way around your stuffy, you want a long piece of thread. So I have a lot right here. Be careful because it can tend to get in your way. Don't make it too terribly long. But again, we're going to split it so that we have 3 and 3. So just be careful. Sometimes it can be tricky. Okay. Alright, I'm going to thread my needle again, and the tail will be pretty long, so this is all just my thread and my tail. I'm going to tie a few knots in here. And we are going to be using a blanket stitch. So you might want to take out a practice piece of felt first. So the way a blanket stitch works, we're going to start by going up, pull, then we're going to go up again. And see this little loop right here? I'm going to go through the loop and pull. So now we're going to keep going. So you're going to take your needle, go up through your fabric, pull, 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 until you just have a little loop, and you're going to go back through your loop and pull. So again, up, pull it until you have just this little loop, back down through the loop. So up, and then whoop, sometimes you might get a little knot, you just gotta be careful. And then if a loop disappears, that's fine, pull it out and back down through the loop. Let's do it on our real project now.
We're going to start our blanket stitch at the top of the knight's head. So you want to pinch both pieces together. It's really important to make sure you go through all the layers, or else you'll have little gaps in your knight when we stuff it. So again, you're going to go up and then through the loop. Pull, and now you're going to go up again through all layers of the fabric, and then through the loop and pull, and you are going to continue this stitch.
Alright, so you can see I've started my blanket stitch here, and what we're going to do is we're going to go all the way around the arms and the legs, back up, and we want to leave an opening here at the top of the head so that we can put all of our stuffing in. Don't get discouraged if you get some knots, or if not all your stitches are even. You're learning, and this is a fun project. Totally gonna work. We're still gonna be able to stuff it. The biggest thing is to make sure that you get all of the layers in there, because if you only get one layer, then your stuffing can come out. So just make sure that as you're putting your needle through your felt, you're getting it through all the layers of fabric. Alright, so now I've got my little knight to this point where it's sewn all the way around, and I stopped right here because my thread started to get really small. So this is actually a really easy fix. All we have to do to continue is take the rest of our thread and tie the two pieces together right here. So I'll show you that in a close-up video. Before we tie it together, we are gonna go ahead and just start to stuff. So if you separate the two pieces that you sewed together, you'll see a little hole. We're gonna take our polyfill, and we're gonna take a little bit at a time. If you try to take all of this and stuff it into your knight, it's gonna get lumpy. It's not gonna go all the way down into the feet. So we'll just do a little bit at a time. And you'll work it all the way down to the bottom. And if you have a dowel or a paint brush or a pencil, you can kind of stick it in there to push it all the way down.
And once you have finished stuffing your knight, it's time to sew it up. So we're taking our new piece of thread and we're gonna start by tying it to the end of the thread that's already going around the knight. Once your thread is tied on, you're going to rethread the needle. Pinch it in between your fingers and put it through the eye of the embroidery needle. Now we can finish our blanket stitch to close up the knight. Again, we're going to sew up and then go through that loop. Make sure that your tail never gets stuck into your project.
Once you have your knight all stuffed up, you can go ahead and close the hole. So we tied a knot right here to attach more thread because we were short. And now we're just going to continue to kind of pinch as we go. It can seem like this is a really big gaping hole, but as long as you pinch it down, you'll be able to treat it as if it were flat. So sew up and through the loop. Up and through the loop. Almost done. Up, through the loop. We're going to continue this blanket stitch all the way to meet the other. And the more sewing projects you do, the better you're going to get at the blanket stitch and the straight stitches and assembling. So just keep on practicing and you will get faster, you will get more even stitches, and your projects will continue to improve. And I think I need about 2 more stitches here. Loop. And then again, remember, you want to keep that tail. So see how you have like a little tail? You want to make sure you keep it all the way. And I'm going to end where I started and then tie another knot. Alright, so here is our little knight stuffy, and we also have our shield. Again, the felt will just stick to itself, which is really fun, so it can be detachable. But if you like to sew it on, you can just take the same thread as I would either use the tan that I used in the star, or I would use a blue so that it wouldn't be too noticeable. A few other options, you could add Velcro to the back of your shield and your knight. You can make different colored shields and they can be interchangeable, but a lot of fun. Hope you enjoy. For more tutorials like this one, go to thestudiobakersfield.com.